One. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode from Delusions of Grandeur. I am one of your hosts, and today I have with me my good friend Boris, all the way from Croatia.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on with me. And,
Thank you for having me.
today we're going to go on about a film from 1999 called Stigmata. And I remember seeing it in the theater myself, and eventually owning it on home video. I know it's in one of those box bins over here, but I just didn't feel like going in and getting it. But we ended up watching it today, and I believe that you as well watched it again on your own. So
Yeah, actually, I watched it on my own earlier today, and then once again with you.
but let me just tell you all exactly what IMDb says about the film, and then we'll go on about our own impressions, and then see if we can't, talk this through. Give you our opinions on this particular film. So when a young woman becomes afflicted by stigmata, a priest is sent to investigate her case, which may have severe ramifications for his faith and for the Catholic Church itself. So, first impressions of this film. What are your thoughts?
Well, I must say I really enjoyed this movie a lot. These movies about angels and demons, God and the devil, things like that. I really enjoy that kind of fiction a lot. And yeah, somehow I never saw this movie before. So thanks to you, now I watched it and I really enjoyed it. It's very exciting from the beginning to the end, very suspenseful. Maybe it has some moments that are kind of nasty where we see those wounds and stuff, but yeah, that's what it had to be. And yeah, I really liked some twists that we got in this story when it started to come full circle. It was a really good story, and I'm glad I got to see it.
I'm glad I got to see it too. I when I saw it in the theater, it was quite an experience, and to be honest, around the same time, End of Days also,
Oh.
maybe within either the same year or a little bit after that, and where Gabriel Byrne he plays the priest here investigating shit, but in that particular film, he plays the devil. So he plays the opposite. And
Yeah, I saw the end of days, and I was reminded of that movie too. I really loved that detail.
but I also am familiar with Patricia Arquette as an actress. Later on after this, she ended up being involved in a television show called Medium that that I watched at least somewhat avidly with my fiance. So
Ooh.
she played a woman who could talk to the dead or things of that nature. So and she did a pretty okay job on it. And I remember her being a hell of a lot more of a go-to actress at the time. So this was one of the ones that I thought, wow. I mean, this was a great performance by her. The imagery in here that they did was like exactly what it needed to be, and it had like moments of truth in it. So I think that it was a very believable film at the time, for someone who, you know, grew up Christian and believes in God and stuff like that. This was a different level of, you know, spirituality that I mean, there are these type of instances out there where people have been subjected to stigmata in real life. So, what did you think about the film as a whole?
Um, I I really liked it. I liked the mystery and the whole journey to solving it. Although there was one part that was left unexplained, that would probably be my one issue with the movie. But it's still very good.
Okay, so in the very beginning of this film, we have Gabriel Byrne, who plays a Catholic priest who is also a scientist, who goes to like who is sent by the Catholic Church to investigate like all of these like events that they investigate, whether they're, you know, real or not real. And I guess his name is Andrew Kiernan in here, Father Andrew Kiernan.
Yeah.
And the first thing that he goes and investigates is this church in Brazil that apparently a father has recently passed away in this church, and there's this bleeding statue of Mary, where there are these actual tears of blood. What did you think about this beginning scene here?
Oh, actually, I could say a lot about that. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in any of our previous discussions, but whenever such scenes appear in a movie of statues at a church, especially statues of Mary, I remember some things that I know as I happen to have read most of the Bible. What many Catholics don't know, and when I say this, I definitely don't mean to offend anyone, but it's true. According to the Bible, one is not really supposed to pray to Mary. She is not really any kind of intermediator between humans and God. The only intermediator is Jesus himself. So, if the church actually wanted to stay true to the Bible, Mary would not really be such an important figure. All those stories about apparitions of Mary and so on, that even if the Bible was true, that couldn't be true if the Bible is considered a reliable source of information. According to the Bible, Mary is just the woman who gave birth to Jesus on earth. But most of the stories about her that people know are not really in the Bible, like that she ascended to heaven without dying on earth or things like that. That's not in the
Or the fact
Bible,
that,
or
Jesus Christ actually had brothers and sisters.
yeah, you beat me to it. They keep promoting her as the virgin, as if she had been a virgin her entire life, which, according to the Bible, also cannot be true because she may have been, according to the story, she may have been a virgin when Jesus was conceived, but then she had other children with Joseph, so she definitely couldn't have still been a virgin after that.
No, but she was supposedly a virgin at the time that she had conceived Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's accurate according to the Bible. Uh,
But that's neither here nor there or having anything dealing with the story. So
yeah, sorry,
apparently,
I.
apparently, while the goodly father was investigating this whole um, phenomenon of the bleeding statue, there was a little boy who went up to the father who had passed away, and he took his rosary, went out to the street, and sold the rosary that had been around the good father's neck, and apparently sold it to uh, the uh, woman, the Frankie Page's mother, who sent
Yeah.
her from Brazil as a present. Well, as soon as she got that necklace, she started to exhibit certain stages of this phenomenon called stigmata. But people thought that these were self-afflicted wounds at first. Like
Yeah.
she had actually caused these wounds on her own, because there wasn't really any other explanation. In fact, the doctor was even suggesting for her to stay overnight at night when she first had this happen. And at first, I thought Frankie was a street woman, a
Oh, what
woman
made you
of the
think?
night.
What made you think so?
Well, the first time we see her, she's having drinks at a bar, and she gets drunk with the dude, and she
Ah,
sleeps with him, and she wakes up the next morning, and she's talking to her mother, and she's all naked and shit, you know.
ah,
So,
yeah, I don't see the point.
but I thought like maybe since she was hanging with her best friend at the time, and it seemed like she was picking up dudes and shit, that she might have been a hooker at the time. But it's later that we find out that she is in fact a hairdresser, or a someone who does hair at a
Ye-
somewhat gothic looking like hairdressing place.
Oh, somewhat, yeah.
So, what do you think about her lifestyle? Uh, uh, where her friends and her way of life. Do you think that she led a perfectly normal life?
Oh, well, maybe not perfectly normal, yeah. These things, drinking and having sex with.
Promiscuous sex.
Yeah, that's something I personally don't consider a good thing, not for any moral reasons or anything like that, but simply because it can be dangerous for physical health, too much alcohol, and the risk of STDs and things like that.
Yeah, there are definitely risks of that out there, and you never know who has what with who, and without wearing protection, you're never sure exactly where someone's penis or vagina has ever been. So, um,
Yeah.
that's something when I see it happen, and they're not protecting themselves, and they're just getting drunk and whatnot. I'm like, well, they're either setting themselves up to get pregnant, or vice versa. Something bad is going to happen.
Indeed.
But in any case, she sleeps with the guy, and then she starts to think that she's pregnant. Um, but you know, uh, she's a little bit more than pregnant. uh,
Uh,
what do you think about this idea of the stigmata? Had you ever heard of this concept before?
Actually, yes, a bit, although I have not investigated it much. Back in elementary school, I had religious studies for the first 4 years. And yeah, that teacher did mention something about Saint Francis and his case of stigmata, which is supposedly where the whole concept originates from. So yeah, I did hear a bit about it, but not in detail. And now, after seeing this movie, I must say it's actually a rather scary concept. I mean, we are very accustomed to seeing all these pictures and statues of Jesus on the cross. We have seen it so many times that we never really pay much thought to it. Like we never really imagined how painful it would be to actually be hanging on a cross with giant nails in your hands or wrists, as we see in this movie, and legs, and all the whipping and stuff that Jesus was supposedly put through. Like when we see that picture or statue, we don't
Well, yeah.
usually imagine how nasty it would be, and this movie portrays it really well, maybe even to a
The
somewhat sickening level.
the way I remember crucifixions being described is they would cut down trees and they would nail men and women and children to these trees, and they weren't like plyboards that we normally see in movies. They were trees. They were branches that they pretty much put together. I'm not sure if they were plywood or not, but they were like these T's with that looked like this.
Oh,
There was nothing above like we normally see in a cross. It was just this T,
yeah.
and their arms would go across, and and yes, they would stick nails through the wrists because uh,
Uh,
the
hands
wrist.
are not would not be hands would not be strong enough to hold a body, right?
Correct. The tendons would have them just fall straight down, whereas the wrists, if you stick them through the bone, they'll hang there and bleed to death,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
basically what it was. That was crucifixion. They would nail your wrists and nail exactly the same points in your legs, and then you would just hang there till you're dead. And it didn't matter how many days, but you would just hang there until you were dead. So
Yeah,
unfortunately, it's a
that's
very excruciating and slow way to die, but it's what people when people put to death, just like um, Vlad Dracula, Vlad Dracula.
ooh.
He would stick people on pikes and let
Oh, oh yeah,
them
it did.
just show his enemies that this is what you do. This is what you become when you come into my country. So, but yeah, apparently stigmata is these 5 levels of the way in which Christ died on the cross, and I guess they can pinpoint it all the way back to supposedly Saint Francis of Assisi, um, where apparently he was a so-called saint in the Catholic Church, where apparently he had visions of, you know, having the same asphyxiations of that which of a person who is dying on a cross. The first of which is the nailing of the wrists. The second would be the whipping that Jesus had gone through. The third would be the feet or the legs.
Maybe I'm not sure either the feet or the crown of thorns. Not sure which one was third in the
I think
movie. I
the
think
fourth one was the crown of thorns.
maybe.
And then
The
the fifth one was death. The death itself, I guess. But
that's what they said in the movie, but I'm not sure if that's really accurate.
but there are some very interesting scenes in here. Like to me, one of the most two of the best scenes in here are the one on the train where she sees these two nuns that have these like crucifix crosses around their necks, and then a father who was sitting across from her, and she asked him if he was this specific priest, and he said, "No, I'm Father this and this," you know. And she's like, "That's okay, I'm fucked anyways." And then suddenly she just takes and grabs on to either either side of the train, and she literally is whipped by some unknown like source. And the priest sees this, and so does everybody else on the train. What did you think about that particular moment?
Yeah, like I said, these moments where we actually see how each wound happens, they were kind of nasty to watch, but yeah, they were definitely some of the most suspenseful moments of the story. And yeah, I guess they do a fairly good job at making us imagine what Jesus went through. If
Well, yeah. There is also this moment where she's in the barber shop and she's doing someone's hair, and all of a sudden she hears something, and then she walks to the window and she sees this woman that's crying with a child wrapped in swaddling clothes. And I guess she lays the child out in the street, and she sees this, but no one else does. And she runs across the street to try to save this child from being like run over. And when she gets there, there's nothing there, and her friend is goes out there and tries to console her and whatnot. But she swears up and down that she's seen this mother who like just kind of just rolled her baby into the street. What did you think about that?
Oh, well, I think the whole image of mother with a baby and this hood that she was wearing or whatever it was probably an allusion to Mary with baby Jesus. But yeah, uh, so apparently the whole thing was an illusion. But then again, at the very end, when the main mystery was supposedly solved, we didn't really get to know what that particular hallucination meant. Like, why would she see a woman somewhat resembling Mary with a baby? Why would she see a woman like that dropping the baby and letting it get hit by a car or something like that?
Very true. But the first instance that we come across is she's taking a bath, and of course we don't get to see her breasts or anything like that, covering them. But we get a very cool, sexy looking side view of Patricia Arquette as she's bathing herself. And I guess you noticed this, that there was a pigeon that flew in, and you think because that pigeon flew in, it represents baptism.
Yeah, I think so because from what I remember, in the Bible, Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, who submerged him into the river of Jordan, and then when Jesus came out, he saw a pigeon, or maybe the pigeon even descended down on him, or something like that. I don't remember exactly. And then he heard the voice of God saying something like, "You are my perfect son, I am pleased with you," or something like that. I don't remember the exact words, but
Well, I also know that Jesus was kind of a haunted man all throughout his adult life. He knew that he was put down on this earth for a reason, and he knew that reason ahead of time. So,
yeah, he was kind of hunted in the last 3 years. I mean, since his baptism to the point of his crucifixion, while he was doing all those things, performing miracles, talking publicly about who he is and so on. Yeah.
but in any case, so she's in the bath, and suddenly, after this bird appears, um, she gets sucked underneath the water, and some undeniable force is forcing her down, and suddenly these uh, holes appear in her arms, and you can see that uh, what she's thrashing around, and the faucet gets ripped out, and everything, and then the next thing you know, you see the ambulance rushing her to the hospital, and they're not understanding like why so much blood is like gushing out of her, and she flatlines for a moment, and then suddenly she wakes up screaming and startles the nurses. So and then she gets told that these wounds may be self-inflicted, and she's like, "What the fuck?" You know,
Pretty much.
I that way towards myself. I would never do this to myself. What are you talking about? What do you think about this moment?
Well, yeah, I imagine if something like that happened in real life, it would really be pretty much bizarre. Like, if I was a doctor or something like that, and it really looked like the person did it to herself, while she firmly claims that she didn't, I would. Probably think that I don't know, that she has a dissociative personality disorder or something like that, and that her alter ego did it to her or something. I don't know.
Well, it's about around this time that we see Father Andrew Kiernan has returned to the Vatican to speak to Cardinal Daniel Houseman, who was played by Jonathan Pryce. Now, Jonathan Pryce, I remember specifically playing in one of the darkest Disney movies that I remember, called Something This Way, Wicked This Way Comes, as Mr. Dark.
Oh,
And I just get a kick out of. He's also played in a Bond film as one of the villains. I think in The World Is Not Enough. And oh, uh, here's another coincidence. You know how he sent him to Brazil? Well,
oh.
he was in a film that was called Brazil.
Wow.
So, and Brazil is a very odd film. But in any case, moving on. So Father Kiernan, comes back to see the Cardinal, and he basically wants to go back to this church to study the statue more. But instead, he's told he doesn't want him there, and then he sends him away, and then I guess eventually he comes back to the Cardinal because they've heard about this young woman who evidently is exhibiting this stigmata effect, especially since a priest has seen this. And so there, Father Kiernan is sent to investigate. What do you think about the Cardinal? What do you think about him as a person?
Oh, it's this priest who eventually turns out to be, spoiler alert, the main villain, right?
Kind of, sort of, because he
Mm.
wields the power of good intent behind the Holy Roman Church. You know,
Um, yeah.
and he
Uh,
wields it to an extreme moment where he becomes obsessed with like casting out whatever demon that he thinks has possessed the young woman Frankie here. He believes that it's a demon that he must cast out of her, and he
well,
literally like takes it to like the next level and tries to choke the shit out of
Well,
her.
actually, I don't think that he thought he was exorcising a demon. I think he actually knew exactly what it was, and I think that was why he tried to strangle her so that his secrets don't end up getting exposed.
Well, these news articles kept showing up at the Vatican, and it was giving the church a very negative uh, news coverage too. Because if this in fact was a true phenomenon, then that means that it is an act to try. Well, a sort of thing to prove that the Catholic Church has been lying to us this entire time
Yeah,
about
that's
the true nature of religion. You know, I mean, this this is not exactly something that they exactly teach in their Bible school teachings.
Oh, yeah, he did. And it's actually true. Like I said, the Catholic Church and what they stand for, it deviates a lot from the Bible first because, as I already said, they teach praying to Mary, to saints, and things like that, which is not biblical, and also God in the Bible strictly forbids praying to statues, and the Catholic Church is full of statues. So,
What I what I found really cool was the fact that once the father had gone to investigate, after a little bit, she told him how she wrote something down, and she didn't know the language, but it was her handwriting. And I guess that the language ended up being like old Aramaic. Apparently, it was a language that hadn't been spoken for like uh, several thousands of years.
mm,
Only spoken around the time in the city of Galilee at the time that Jesus reigned.
okay, wait, I'm not sure. Yeah, later she was writing in Aramaic, but that's
Well, she was
not a.
writing, but when she was talking to Father Kiernan, she said she had written something down, and she handed him a piece of paper and had said that she had written this. But well, she woke up one morning and saw that she had written this, and it was her handwriting, but she doesn't remember writing it.
Yeah,
And
but.
he said it at first that it was Italian, and it said what was it that that it said? I'm trying to
Uh,
think.
I think it was that quote. I can't remember it word by word. Something like split the wood and I'll be there. Move the rock and you will find me. Something like that. I can't remember it in the
Yeah,
exact words.
and after he had gone after her and to look for her in that alley where we see all the paper flying around and shit, he actually does tell her that he found out that that language that she had written in was in fact Aramaic, and that it was thousands of years old, and that was when he told her that language that she had written in was ancient. You know,
Yeah.
so I thought that was kind of cool. But then of course, yeah, he no one could get a hold of her, and this was like after we had seen her sitting on top of a building, and we were both saying, doesn't that seem weird for her to be hanging her legs off the top of a building, and you know that you're going through this stigmata shit? What if this
Um,
happened while she was like still like sitting there? Don't you think she would have fallen to her death?
yeah, exactly. I thought the same while watching the movie for the first time. Like, if I was having some strange experiences like that, there's no way I would go to a place like that where some weird thing could just push me over and kill me.
Yeah. And then I did think that the voice that whatever spoke to him was weird while she was writing the stuff, and when she turned around and her face like it was all white and pale,
And
and
wrinkled.
yeah, and she was and it was basically don't shoot the messenger kind of a message, but the way it was told to him, it was kind of weird.
Yeah, at that point, the story leads us to believe that it's a case of a demonic possession or something like that. And later on, we find out
Kind of
it.
turned into an exorcist kind of a movie, eh? I mean,
Yeah,
at first it was a stigmata thing, and then it became The Exorcist. And it was like, what the hell?
indeed.
So I guess you could call this an exorcism, like a movie that is about exorcism in a sense. Um,
Uh, in a way, although we later find out it was possession, but not quite demonic, but something else. But we will get to that.
well, yeah, someone who actually had a stigmata evidently had their spirit had possessed that cross, which passed on a curse to her, and it seems like I guess maybe the priest had not been blessed um, at the time of his death. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I thought it was a real cool scene where Father Kiernan, uh, Gabriel Byrne, came flying up the stairs, basically told the damn cardinal that he would be excommunicated from the church if he had it his way, and then he basically walked through fire to tell this demon to or to tell the father to get out of this woman, you know,
Yeah.
and while all the while the place was aflame, he carried her up and out and was unharmed, you know.
Yeah, I imagine that might have been a reference to that psalm where it says, though I walk through the valley of death, I shall fear no evil, if I remember correctly.
I was also thinking, have you ever heard of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego?
Oh, yeah, from the book of Daniel.
Yeah,
Uh,
they were thrown into a fiery furnace, and
yeah, they survived because
correct. They
they.
walked right out. We're like, hey man, cool. Uh, so so you thought that was gonna scare us? Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
But in any case, uh, yeah. Also, we get the whole moment where uh, Father Kiernan ends up like almost like breaking his vows by like almost fully sleeping with Frankie. Um, and
Well,
and he was found fully clothed lying next to Frankie by the Cardinal, and right before that, and that's when he like took her away with his um, party of priests who took her to that church to begin with. But the Cardinal went way far with whatever he was doing, don't you think?
well, actually, I think before that happened, I think he already said he had given up on being a priest. So I don't think it was that much about the vows, but I think he didn't want to do it with her because of what she was going through, and maybe he thought it would be immoral for him to do that with a person who is going through things like this and who may not be quite herself.
Plus, we get
Uh,
the whole little possession moment where we get that voice again, and it's telling him, "So what's happened to your faith, Father?"
yeah, actually, that's what I mentioned at the beginning of the discussion. That's the one thing in the movie that I have an issue with because it wasn't explained as far as I saw. I mean, as far as we were told, in the end, the entity possessing her was the spirit of this priest, Father Alameda, who died at the very beginning. And although I really liked this twist that the entity possessing a person is not is not an enemy, but someone who came back to fix some injustice that was done in the past. While I really liked that concept, I had a problem with this scene when Frankie was acting possessed and the entity possessing her was seducing this Father Kiernan. Like, if the entity possessing her was a priest who was actually there to do something good, why would he be doing this?
Well, maybe I kind of chalked it up to the fact that that little boy he sold that cross, which was part of his personal possessions. A priest's rosary is a personal thing, and so when he died, just like when pharaohs die in Egypt, they are buried with their possessions. Supposedly,
Yeah.
many of them were buried with their possessions, and a curse was placed upon their burial grounds to kind of keep people from stealing shit from their tombs or whatnot. And
Cool, cool.
to me, I feel like this was because because that possession was taken from his burial ground, that it's not that far fetched that his spirit would travel with that cross, as it was one of his belongings, and then it was
Uh, y-
passed to her. Uh,
yeah, Yeah, that does make sense, but what doesn't make sense to me is if the entity possessing her was the spirit of the priest, why would that spirit use her body to seduce another man?
because it was testing his faith.
Uh, I don't know.
It was a test of faith, I think, for the priest to see how strong he was in order to save, I guess, maybe her soul. Um, I mean, maybe I don't know all the reasons. What I do know is it was weird. It was definitely unnerving to, uh,
Yeah.
to to see, and uh, it ended up being like a sort of a possession story. So, uh, which is a little bit different than an actual exorcism of a demon. So,
Yeah, yeah, precisely because, as I said, in most exorcism stories, the entity possessing a person is a demon, something evil. While in this case, although it did do some,
it was a malevolent spirit. It was a malevolent spirit that was inside her, regardless. Something that was causing her harm physically, and taking her to an extent of pain that was beyond her comprehension. And
mm,
it was beyond her control too.
yeah, but I mean, in the end, the point was supposedly that the spirit is not the true enemy, but the priest. The spirit was trying to expose this Father Houseman, if that was his name.
Yeah. And at the end of the this definitely brought across to us uh, an interesting plot. So, um, I thought that that was kind of cool, where he just walked out of there with her body, and then you know, uh, in the end, we see that there's this scroll that was found, evidently,
Oh
uh,
yeah,
that many scholars believe uh, are the last surviving words of Jesus Christ, that the church does not affiliate itself with, as um, being what is it,
uh,
true.
yeah. The church doesn't want it, and that writing actually exists, it says right before the ending credits. It's known as the Gospel of Thomas, and it says something that God's kingdom is if what how they interpreted in this movie is true. It says that the kingdom of God is not at any church or anything like that, but inside us and everywhere around us, which if this interpretation is correct, means that if one wants to be close to God, they don't really need any church or any organization for that. And
Which is
yeah, we
a
can.
very interesting concept too. I mean, the fact that you don't really need a church to believe in God. I mean, who would have thought? I mean,
I
it's
mean,
like all the Sunday school teachings are false, and you know, God is ever present, all knowing. He's all around us. He's within you. Uh,
yeah,
and
like you.
he lives within you.
Yeah, like if you want to have God in your life, just read the Bible and come up with your own interpretations and your own conclusions. Don't let other people tell you what to think.
Yeah, basically. So, in any case, so we, I think we have come to our end of at least the plot line. Was there any scenes in particular that you might want to mention that might have been favorite scenes?
Uh, I think my favorite scene would probably be when the priest got exposed, this father houseman, and when Andrew confronted him and all that. That was the most suspenseful part of it, to me at least.
Okay. Me, I like a fair amount of the scenes in here. Um, I like the scene in the train. That was pretty intense. I didn't mind the bathtub scene. I definitely didn't mind the possession parts. Um, and I think the whole part where um, Father Kieran is has disposed of the Cardinal and is talking to Frankie, or what is possessing Frankie, uh, and he's standing in the fire,
Oh.
unharmed, and the whole place is burning, and he basically says his words, and I guess we see some visual imagery where we see the priest that may have inhabited her, and suddenly, I guess, releases her into his capable arms, and they walk out, and
Yeah, actually, that's it. Probably proves the point of the Gospel of Thomas. Like, if the point is that in order to be close to God, you don't really need a religious institution or anything like that, then this scene actually proves that point, because Father Houseman couldn't exorcise this priest from the woman's body because he was a member of the organization, and he was working for his own agenda. He was not doing it out of genuine faith, unlike Andrew, who came there with a good intention and with the intention of bringing peace to the spirit of the priest, and that was why he did manage to cast him out of the woman.
oh yeah. What did you think about the production? Do you think this was put together rather well, and the places or whatnot? And
Yeah, definitely. The scene with fire and all those flashy effects when the wounds were taking place, and things like that. It was pretty good, and even rather gruesome at moments, but that was the point. It was necessary for the story if it wanted to make us imagine really vividly what Jesus went through, if the whole story is true in the first place.
so, one of the things I wanted to mention is that the music in here.
Oh,
Uh,
indeed.
I thought the music was pretty decent for its time. Um,
Yeah, it actually
one of the
has
songs
some.
one of the songs was done by a '90s band called Chumbawamba, and
Oh.
they put out one of the best drinking songs. I get knocked down, I get up again. No, you ain't gonna keep me down. I get knocked down.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Pissing the night away. Pissing the night away. I take a whiskey drink. I take a soft drink. I take a lager drink. Anyways, but they did a song called Mary Mary. I guess it's called Stigmatic Mix in here. That's pretty cool. I guess
Yeah.
Cosmic Angel, which was performed by Batic. O Sacrum Convivium, which was performed by Oxford Camerata. Greymari, which was performed by Remy Zero. All is Full of Love, which was performed by Bjork. Now is the Time, the Crystal Method Y2 Chaos Mix, which was performed by the Crystal Method. The Pretty Things Are Going to Hell, performed by David Bowie. Release, which was performed by Afro Celt Sound System, featuring Sinead O'Connor. Inertia Creeps, which was performed by Massive Attacks, and which is a punk band, if I remember correctly. And a song by Natalie Imbruglia called Identify, which was written by Billy Corgan and Mike Garson. So that's pretty much the soundtrack. But I liked Mary Mary, and I thought that the David Bowie song was pretty good. I remember listening to some Crystal Method, so definitely some good '90s stuff that showed up in here. But to me, the music was memorable.
Yeah, I was actually planning to look some of the songs up later.
Yeah, it was a unique soundtrack. I thought it was. I thought it was entertaining and definitely went with the film.
It
But
did.
I thought that the production was done pretty good. I thought that the imagery that was brought on by each of the different levels of the stigmata, the way that they did the imagery was pretty cool. And at the time, it had more of an impact on me the first time I saw this. And then, of course, some of the impact faded, but it's still, if you see it for the first time, the imagery stays with you. Seeing it the first time, it's like a wow moment, but after seeing it again, it's like now you've seen it. So that, at least to me. But it was a wow factor when I first saw it. So I'd like people to not forget this film.
Definitely.
It was a good horror film. It wasn't that it was terrifying. The concept is terrifying. The idea behind it and the message behind it is kind of cool. The fact that heaven or God could just be within us, So
Indeed.
we don't really need to go to church to learn that.
Yeah, that's actually a very good message.
I'm not sure whether it's a good message, not for those who believe in church and all that jazz, but it's a healthy one for modern day Christians, that you don't really need a church to believe in what you want to believe, and it's a safe message.
Yeah.
That's what I want to put on that. I'm not sure whether it's good or bad. I mean, I guess it's up to you, the audience, to let us.
Well, I think it is good because churches have a tendency to to tell people what to think instead of letting them think for themselves. They want people to blindly accept their ideology instead of letting them think critically and have
Well,
their own.
I would have
Uh,
to say it would be the identity of choice. People have to have that choice of whether to have that belief or not. I mean, do you want to believe in God, or do you want to not believe in God? I mean, that's pretty much how it is. I mean, you can't force this belief on anyone, but by see, most people believe in what they see and what they hear, and unfortunately, if you don't see God, if you don't hear Him, then of course He's not there. You know, but I believe, me personally, I believe that there is something there. I do believe that there is a. I personally believe that there is a God. My mom um, had an acoustic neuroma, um, a tumor on her brain years
oh,
ago,
oh, I'm
and
sorry to hear that.
by the time they found it, it was the size of a golf ball, and she had a lot of people praying for her to get better, and she had a lot of faith at the time. When they took it out, she lost half of her hearing in her left side, and according to the doctors, her face should have hung. But if miracles aside, her face did not hang. She looks normal, but you know, she lost some of the sensitivity in her left side of her face, and she's had to deal with stuff with her left eye a lot, and um, lost her hearing in her left ear. It is a miracle that she is alive.
Ooh.
So to me, that is one of the miracles that I like to tell people about. So if there was not a God, why would she still be here?
Well,
I mean, she had a growth on her brain that could have killed her. You know, I mean,
yeah,
there are people who have gotten this type of thing and have died because of it. But she had surgery on it. They found it inside her, and and she's lived ever since. So I have to
well,
say I've had quite a few years with my mom, and I love her. But it it's not often you get to live with or know a walking miracle. You know.
I yeah, I do see what you mean. Well, first of all, of course, I'm really glad that your mom survived all that. And now, whether it was a miracle or just science and good luck,
It
I
was a
don't
medical
really
miracle.
know.
It was at least a medical miracle. At least.
Yeah, at least that. And I mean,
But
who am I to
she
say what it was?
definitely had a lot of people praying for her. So my mom really believes in her heart that the power of prayer helped her, and I think that it helped her spirit at the time. So
Yeah, y- yeah, that's something I do believe in now, whether there is something supernatural, to put it that way. or not. I don't know, but yeah, the actually faith does have some power to an extent because if you genuinely believe in something, then it can influence your mental state, your psychology, your biochemistry, and that in turn can have actual physical effects on the body. So yeah,
You know what? Originally, I was going to have us do End of Days next week, but because we've gotten on the
um,
subject of faith and religion, I think we should go on about a movie called Believe.
okay. I was kind of looking forward to doing the end of days because I
We
like
will
that
do
one,
the
but
end of we will do the End of Days, but I want to do this one first before we do End of Days. I want
okay.
I want to suspend your feelings of disbelief and um,
Interesting.
for a moment. I believe it was a film from 2009.
Well, please don't get me wrong about what I said. I mean, if regarding what happened to your mother, if you and your family believe it was a miracle, and if belief is what helped her get better, then I am really no one to say that any of you were wrong.
Yeah, but in any case, other than that, is there anything else that you'd like to um, uh, talk about this film?
Well, I think I have said most of the things I was going to say. Not sure if there was anything I forgot. I think not.
Well, yeah, um, there was this was a straightforward film technically. I mean, it was a thriller. I mean, there was definitely a lot going on in the film, and it's one that I remembered. You know, I mean, it's like a one hit wonder. You know, uh, to,
Indeed.
to me, and to me, you at least got to see it once to. Uh, 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 it was very believable, uh, to be honest. If you wanted to suspend yourself in this universe where people actually have this happen to them, uh,
Mm,
it was definitely
yeah.
unique, and I think Patricia Arquette uh, uh, played it pretty good. And Gabriel Byrne was pretty good as the priest, I think.
Yeah, surprisingly good regarding his other role that we were going to discuss.
Yes. In any, oh, I think it's Believer, maybe Believer. Let's see,
Believer from which year?
Believer.
Movie.
Ah,
Uh,
Believers, I believe. Believers
Believers. Uh,
from
from
2007.
2007 IMDb. Let's see. Believers 2007. Two paramedics responding to an emergency call find themselves killed by a religious sect whose great obsession is to stop. Oh, well, yeah, this one should be interesting as well.
Sorry, I just go with the flow of the wind where it takes us, and I think you'll understand why I want us to watch this one because then we're going to end the world. So
it,
again,
yeah, I think it will be interesting. I'm not complaining about the choice.
alrighty. Well, in any case,
Oh,
thank you for listening,
y-
ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you coming on and listening to our babble about this particular film, but it was a film that I don't think a lot of people remember as much. I mean, it came out amongst a ton of others in the 90s, and not sure if many people have actually sat down and talked about it and the ideas behind it and whatnot. So I certainly enjoyed this film. I think it definitely has a lot of good replay value. Still,
Yeah.
especially for those who haven't seen it. So I'm glad that I was able to share it with you.
Thank you. I'm glad I got to see it.
Oh
Not
yeah,
sure
most
when.
definitely.
Not
Now,
sure when I
now
would
next
have.
now
Ah,
next week I'm gonna see what you believe.
that will be interesting.
So in any case, um, thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day, evening, or morning wherever you are. Let us know down in the comments what you thought of this film.
Indeed.
Um, you definitely have to see it once. It is definitely up there on some of my lists of my religious uh, possession films that I enjoy. Um, in any case, thank you and enjoy.
Yeah, thank you all.